हरिः गंगणपतये नमः गुंगुरुभ्यो नमः ऐं सरस्वत्यै नमः Divya Atman. Today we will be discussing as to how to do sadhana on the basis of Ramayana. As we know, the Ramayana has the avowed purpose of glorifying dharma and inculcating the truths which open up for man the way to supreme perfection. It represents the true Hindu spirit of unconditional adherence to the law of righteousness and the performance of one's prescribed duty. To assert the greatness of a life of activity based on the righteousness underlying the law of the divine being is one of the main aims of the Ramayana. The life of the ideal man described in the Ramayana is an incentive to all men to strive to become embodiments of Dharma. Dharma is the soul of life, and a life bereft of Dharma is not worth its name. Sri Rama, the incarnation of God, represents in himself the ideal son, the ideal brother, the ideal husband, the ideal king, and the emblem of divinity on earth. Man is expected to root his virtue in the divine. Virtue is necessarily grounded in a consciousness of the principle of divinity, else it would become a mechanical routine of external acts. The Ramayana sounds the eternal spirit of Bharatavarsha, the spirit of heroically facing the realities of existence without fighting shy of them, and at the same time blending action with devotion and loyalty with law. Law is eternal, for it is the expression of the system of the universe governed by God. To follow this law is the duty of man. The Ramayana teaches man by way of example as to how he can fulfill the demands of law. Here, the entire extent of the life of an Arya is delineated. Social life and spiritual life are wonderfully harmonized in it. Love and heroism, ahimsa and kshatriya dharma are brought together in it. Bhakti and yoga, karma and jnana are fused into one. Sri Ram is the crowning feature of the Ramayana, whose very name is exalted to the status of a supreme purifier of the mind of man. Ram Nam is a panacea for all diseases and is as invincible and irresistible as the Ram Bana. Life in its entirety, individual, social and divine, is depicted by the poet seer Valmiki. He commences his poem with a description of the ideal individual. He then gives the description in his poem of the ideal society, of ideal administration of the country, and the ultimate ideal of life, the attainment of God. What a grand work! Valmiki's epic gives a concrete picture of the mysterious link that connects man and the world with God, the Creator. Social life is emphasized, for man is a member of a society, and without society's goods, his good cannot be achieved. And without God's grace, No individual and no society can progress. The supreme value of the universe is in its being a field of experience for its contents, necessary for their evolution towards the eternal being. The reality of the universe is God. All attempts and endeavors based on adharma, on selfishness and individual independence are doomed to failure at the iron hands of the divine law. The Ramayana most excellently portrays the victory of dharma and the final defeat of adharma. Rama and Ravana respectively stand for these two forces of the universe. Sri Rama's government is a specimen of the ideal administration. It is in fact an earthly representation of the divine government of the universe under the supreme sovereign, the Almighty. To bestow due attention on dharma, artha, kama and moksha, on the individual, the society, the nation and their relation to the universe as a whole is the duty of an ideal monarch. Sri Ram exemplifies in himself such a ruler, the symbol of God on earth, justifying the great dictum Navishnuhu Prithivipatihi. There is an element of the divine in a ruler of men. Sri Rama carries this truth to its consummation and makes his rule eternally sound in the quarters of the world as famous Ramarajya, the joy of the spirit of man. One of the striking characteristics of the Hindu scriptures is their expert handling of the problems of life in consonance with the transcendent being, which is the final goal of life. Right from the Vedas and the Upanishads down to the epics and the Puranas, this important element features the Catholicity that is in all the scriptures of the Hindus. Life is not, as some people would hold, a mere delirium of spirit, a disease and an error, but an opportunity presented for the molding and training of the self for eternity, to live in the immediate present with the strength of the past and a vision of the future, basing one's actions on the ancient system of the fulfillment of duty, with the transforming touch of the glorious ideal of self-realization, towards which all beings are consciously or unconsciously moving, is the burden of the immortal song of the Ramayana. God is both transcendent and immanent. To love Him as transcendent alone would be an error, for the universe is His immanent aspect. It is He Himself in self-revelation, and we are duty-bound to consider the universe as our own self, as the omnipresent Godhead. Nor are we to make the mistake of disregarding the transcendent and dropping into a pantheistic view of considering the visible universe alone as a complete manifestation of reality. The Ramayana pays the respect to the physical, the vital, the mental, the moral, and the spiritual values of life, and teaches a gospel of the integration of these in the divine harmony of the Supreme Being. The Ramayana with the Manusmriti and Mahabharata forms the standard delineation of the course of the eternal dharma, the Shrutis. There is no doubt that the inhabitants of India, when they follow and preach the spirit of the scriptures, will pave the way not only to a greater India, but to a greater world which would reflect the beauty of heaven, the glory of creation, and the greatness of God. For the purpose of bringing out the full philosophy of the Ramayana, Therefore, one has to closely follow the part played by the figures enumerated. 1. King Dasaratha. 2nd. Manthara, the maid servant of Kaikeyi. 3rd. Kaikeyi, the youngest king of Dasaratha's consorts. 4th. Ravana, the demon king of Lanka. 5th. Hanuman, minister of the monkey chief Sugriva. 6th. Sita, the beloved wife of Sri Ram, the prince of Ayodhya. 7th. Lakshmana, the brother of Sri Ram. And finally, Sri Ram, the hero of the great epic. On the eve of the coronation of Sri Ram as the crown prince of Ayodhya, the whole scheme was settled behind through the pressure brought on Dasaratha by his wife Kaikeyi under the instigation of her maidservant Manthara and the king's submission to the dictates of his wife, whereby Prince Rama is exiled to the forest where he was to spend a period of 14 years. In this context, King Dasaratha is to be compared to the ordinary man of the world, placed in an atmosphere of pleasure and plenty, falling a victim to the promptings of his vicious mind, infatuated by sense objects. The 10-headed Rakshasa Ravana, in the absence of Sri Ram and Lakshmana, steals away Sita from their forest dwelling. Here Ravana, with his 10 heads, is to be compared with the 10 sense organs, 5 organs of knowledge and 5 organs of action. Stealing away of Sita is to be compared to the loss of reasoning power of the worldly minded deluded by Maya. The golden deer Maricha is Maya, which deluded both Lakshmana and Rama, and they lost their power of discrimination, that is Sita. Hanuman, the intellectual giant and the strong celibate, is an invincible power which indicates that if one has to achieve success in all his undertakings, one has to cultivate truth, simplicity, purity, selfless service, devotion to duty, and establish himself in absolute brahmacharya. Sri Ram and Lakshmana developed these qualities and they were able to redeem Sita from the demon Ravana, meaning they got back their reasoning power by brahmacharya and tapas. In worldly life, whatever might be the spiritual progress one has achieved, he will never attain moksha unless he is detached from all worldly ties. This aspect is fully depicted in the ascetic march of Sri Rama, Lakshmana and Sita to the forest in obedience to the wishes of Kaikeyi. The path which led the regal party to the forest was so narrow that it was not possible for them to have a safe passage. Hence, they had to follow one after the other, so much so Sri Ram was in front, Sita in the middle, and Lakshmana at the back. Everyone knows pretty well the brotherly affection that Lakshmana had towards his brother, and it is even said that he could not exist even for a second without seeing Rama. While on their march, because of Sita's presence in the middle, Lakshmana could not see his brother properly, and at frequent intervals he used to request his sister-in-law to make room for him to see Rama. In this context, Sri Ram is to be compared to Paramatma. In fact, Sri Ram was an incarnation of Supreme Being, and Lakshmana the individual soul, Jivatma. Jivatma constantly endeavors to attain oneness with the Paramatma, but Maya, that is Sita, stands in the way. With an intense yearning, it is possible to get rid of Maya and attain the goal of merging oneself in Paramatma. The possibility of attaining Godhead by the aspirant through strong devotion to the Supreme Being is also stated in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Hari Om.